This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network. Visit jabberjawmedia.com for more shows like this one.
While we were at the awesome Treefort Festival in Boise this year, we got a chance to sit down and interview several of our favorite bands. Because this is a show about the music business, we tried to talk mostly about that, but we did get sidetracked a bit. Welcome to the Future of What? I'm your host, Portia Sabin, president of the independent record label Kill Rock Stars. Support for the Future of What comes from Merch Table. Are you a band who's struggling to run an online store? Let's face it, your bass player is a terrible mail carrier, and you really can't practice when the singer is trying to track down a lost package. Merch Table can help with services ranging from warehousing and shipping to customer service, screen printing, tour logistics, and even marketing. You focus on your art, and Merch Table will handle the rest. Merchtable.com. So let's get into these conversations from Treefort right now on the Future of What?
Can I have a taste of your ice cream? Can I lick the crumbs from your table? Can I interfere in your crisis? No, mind your own business. No, mind your own business.
You're listening to the Future of What? We're talking to Kat Harris-White of SassyBlack. Kat, welcome to the Future of What?
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
So, as you probably know, this is a podcast about the music business. And you've been in the music business for a while.
Oh my goodness, yes. I like thinking about it. Like I graduated from school in 2008 and I've been going ever since then. But before then even, because I started 2004. Yeah, like right out of high school. I was like jumping into bands and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so a while.
Then you were in a band called THEESatisfaction.
Yes, I was.
Which got signed to Sub Pop.
Yes, it did.
And you made 2 records.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
I think these are good facts.
So you learned some stuff.
Yes.
About the business at that point. And then when that band ended, you went on to your own solo thing, which is SassyBlack.
Yes, it is.
So tell me, when did this start really seeming to you like a business?
Honestly, from the jump, like since I was like a teenager before I was even involved, my mom, she studied law at NYU. And so she was always telling me whatever I wanted to do, whether I was an actress or a writer or a musician, that I should learn the business side of it. And so it doesn't mean I was good at it, but it just means I was always thinking about it. So she had instilled that in me at a young age about trying to figure out budgets and expense sheets and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I mean, because a lot of people really don't come to music with that as their perspective. They come at it as like, I'm hanging out with my friends, it's so rad, and we're having so much fun. And then like years down the road, they're like, oh, wait a second, I have to pay taxes.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Stuff like that. So it's really amazing that you came into it the other way, like thinking about it like a business.
Yeah.
So has that changed, how you've handled it, do you think? Do you think you've had a more pragmatic sort of attitude towards what you do next in terms of like, okay, well, I know this is what I want to do as a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably annoying to some of the bandmates that I had, which is probably why I'm not in any of these groups anymore. But I just kept thinking about like, okay, like let's have a year plan. Let's have a plan for the album. Let's have like a marketing plan. Let's plan the tour. Like, what are the expenses going to be like? And trying to figure that stuff out. It was difficult trying to do that and plan the records. Now I'm in a better place because I'm entirely independent and I do it all myself pretty much with the help of a couple of teammates. But it was a part of the process. I was like, okay, we need a lawyer, we need an accountant, a manager or a co-manager kind of consult kind of person. What else? We need an agent, European or North American or both, and just kind of figure out like who do you need to make things happen. And then like what are the percentages they're taking? Like how much are we getting paid? And trying to figure out tax things. And how do you fill out taxes as a musician? Because that's like the secret scripture. No one ever really wants to talk about it. Like they kind of vaguely are like, you should do taxes. Like, people pay you in cash versus check and, just trying to figure that stuff out. It was always on my mind while creating the group because like a lot of people don't know this, but like THEESatisfaction's very first show was at my senior recital.
Wow.
At Cornish. Like I still have the flyer. Called myself Cat Satisfaction, Harris-White and whatever, and it was called like This Is Me or whatever. And then like the first half was like jazz standards because I studied jazz. and the second half was like original songs. They were actually all of my original songs, but I had Stas sing backup for something. She doesn't even sing. But I had her up there, and I was like, THEESatisfaction's first show, right? And then we got our first show booked from that, like our first official show.
Wow.
And then we had all of our show. We didn't stop booking shows until last year. So it was like 7, almost 8 years of shows from that.
Yeah.
So even then I was like, cool, we're doing this. We should have a mixtape. We should call it this, or we should theme it like this. If we're going to sample stuff, we should like shout them out so that they don't feel like we're stealing from them, because I read a bunch of stuff about sampling stuff and just like, you know, like that was like our mixtape series and just a lot of things. I was just always like, all right, we should probably figure out a record now. Oh, you have a couple of beats? Cool. Let's write some songs and let's put it into an EP. Let's make it a project, and then let's market it, and let's try and get a feature here. Let's try and like, I wrote so many press releases and sent so many like cold emails to strangers or info at whatever weekly or whatever times.
Right.
To the fact, it's just like, it was just insane.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, like Gmail has a max out. I know it's like a max of 100 now. And it probably is lowered because of me.
You personally.
Yeah, me personally, right?
But that's amazing, because that just shows that you really understood that this was a business and you needed to promote the business yourself. What do you feel about going to music school? I mean, since you did go to music school, like, do you have a feeling about that, pro or con for musicians? Like, is that a good idea for musicians, or is it sort of neutral?
I think it depends. It depends on who you are. Like, I lucked out into going into Cornish, honestly. I had like a really crazy process. I didn't get accepted to any other schools. And then I really wanted to go to Cornish, but I just didn't think I was like enough of a musician, because I didn't know how to read music and whatever. But then I wound up going, and I was really honored, but I was also really overwhelmed, because you have to learn how to sight read and all these other things. And then it gets super stressful. It's just like regular college, like any other institution, like a university or college, right? And it just gets super overwhelming. So I think if you go in with the intention of what you're going to pull out of it, like understanding your music theory classes, understanding the purpose and the power of practicing, asking questions, staying afterwards, you know, to study with people, and understanding like who you're studying with, because you might be studying with a legend. Like, I took a class with Julian Priester, and he played with Sun Ra and Herbie Hancock and like all these jazz legends, and I had like really no idea, but I heard it and I was like, oh, this is interesting, you know. And you know, you're able to be in spaces with these creative folks. So it's like, if you do decide to go to an institution like that, I would say really plan what you're going to get out of it. You know, I've had a couple conversations, because Cornish is kind of like the Berkeley or like the Juilliard of Seattle, of the Pacific Northwest, because they don't really have anything comparable, right? And then there is a Cornish community, like there's a Berkeley community, like there's a New School community, like there's a Juilliard community. It's a community of artists that kind of like, oh, you went there? Oh, cool. And then like kind of like a hookup situation, like kind of people are like, oh, you went there? Well, you know, we should go to this meeting, or we should go to this bar, or whatever. So like there's kind of like an infrastructure within that. And so if you're going to be in these institutions, it's like go in with a plan, have an intention, and really figure out what people typically get from there. Like, who are the people who've already graduated? Like, who would you like to know? What would you want to get out of it? But I guess that's like any program that you get involved with, like know what you want from it. But I don't think it's like necessary, because there are people who have gone to Cornish and like not graduated. You know, people who've gone for like a semester or a couple classes and then just picked up a gig like that. And then they're out there and they're touring forever, you know? So I guess it depends on how you want to approach the music industry, you know? Because if you don't do that, like try and get an internship somewhere, like at a label or something like that, and figure it out and like get a feeling, but like do something that actually puts you into the industry. So it doesn't have to be school per se. And if you don't have a scholarship or financial aid, it might not even be an option.
Right. So do you make the majority of your living at this point as a musician?
Yes.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's admirable. That's great.
It's insane. Yeah.
What has your experience been with Sound Exchange?
Sound Exchange has been pretty rad, actually. Like, I signed up for it pretty much as soon as I heard about it. It was a couple years ago. I think I just did something with Sound Exchange at South by, and they told me my year. I think it was like 2012 or 2013, and I was like impressed with myself. I was like, wow, you've been getting royalties for streaming music for some time. I'm pretty much impressed how they deal with it, because for me, I'm just I'm skeptical about a lot of things, and then I'm just grateful when I can get a piece of the pie that is mine. Like if my music's just out there, it would be nice to get paid for when it's played somewhere.
Right.
So like I'm already signed up for ASCAP, and so I'm like, cool, thanks for holding that down, you guys. But like the streaming thing, I hadn't even thought of it, because you're thinking about billions of things.
Right.
You're thinking about just like, how am I going to get food tomorrow? How am I going to get to my next gig? How am I going to make sure that this guy pays me for that last gig a month ago? You know, so you're thinking about so many things. So finding out about Sound Exchange was really interesting, because I do get checks from them, and I could see where they're coming from and things like that. But then they're always trying to advocate for the artists from what I've seen, you know, and I get their mailing lists, I get the emails now, so I see like the things that they're trying to do. I'm in DC, and, you know, again, just really advocate for the artists. And it's interesting, like they're trying to get more money for us, which is like, please.
Yeah.
Please. Like, I'm grateful like, to get any checks. I'm like, cool, someone's playing it somewhere, and here's my little tiny sliver. But I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that people are trying to get money for the artists.
Yeah. Like anywhere that happens
I'm like,
is
whoa,
really great, right?
You made a company where you want to give us our money? You know?
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's sort of your job now, which I think is a little bit harder than it used to be for artists, is that your job is now to sort of keep track of all those income streams and make sure you're getting paid for everything, where, you know, that isn't how it used to be. It used to be record sales.
Yeah.
And that was easy. It's like the artist could be off doing whatever. The label's supposed to collect that money and then pay the artist.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you know, it's like that, yes, you do sell albums, but that's just one of many income streams. So it makes a big difference to be on top of that. And I'm so glad to be talking to you, because you are on top of that. And it's so nice to talk to an artist who is, because I feel like, you know, anything we can do to tell young artists, like, you know, start thinking of this as a business from day one, just like you did, you know, because that's going to stand you in good stead. And it's also going to cut down on the things that you hear, these terrible stories that you hear about people being taken advantage of and ripped off and all these things. And it's like, we never want that to happen.
Yeah.
We want people to have their money, get their money, know where their money's coming from. And it's not that hard. I mean, it's not rocket science.
It's really not. You know, I think I've said this a lot, and it's probably annoying at this point, but I'm like, use Google for what it's for. Use the internet for what it's for. If you don't use Google or use MSN or Bing, like one of these other things, right? But people don't use the internet what it's for. They use it for like gossip and entertainment, which is cool, but it's an education tool. I come from a tech family. Like my grandfather used to work at IBM. My brothers have worked for like Microsoft and T-Mobile and all this other stuff in the tech side. And so I have a real understanding of that. And before I had like any cool looking clothes, I had like a desktop computer. I didn't have that stuff. I would look like such a weirdo, which is cool for me now. You know, it was a cool thing now, but I was just like not dressed to the T, but I had my own desktop computer at maybe like 12 years old. And so I was able to learn more about the computer. I could type my papers on my computer and things like that. So that was something special to me. That was a gift to me growing up. And so with that said, I know how to research, and I love researching it. Like I watch all the documentaries about all my favorite artists, everything that went wrong. Everything went wrong is typically, I didn't read the contract. Or, I just signed it. They said there was a check coming, and I just signed it, and then I never saw any money. It's like, yeah, you know, like I say, this is one of my mottos. It's like, skim is for milk. Read your contract. Skim is for milk. You know, like don't do that. Yeah. Because why would you skim something that could sign away your life? You know, it's just having those conversations. You know, but searching things online is so important, because you can find all this information. People are like, Kat, how'd you do it? How'd you get here and there? I said, I literally searched royalties for artists. Like, you know, and there are things like the DIY musician, which is like put on by CD Baby, or like Sonic Big. So things that are like more accessible for artists right now. You don't have to dig that far.
Yeah.
But then you could also go like Forbes, you know, like all the business magazines are writing about these things. All the music business magazines, all the music they are writing about it, but you might have just skimmed down to like something that Drake was talking about, you know, which is fine too. But like read the other articles that pertain to artistry and what you're actually doing. So it's like this knowledge is accessible, but folks, it's just harder because people make it hard. It's because you tell yourself, so difficult to do this. I was like, is it? Is it really?
Is it really?
You go to a job that you hate all the time. And what makes that any easier than finding out about something you love? You know? So it's just like more of a state of mind than anything, I think.
Well, honestly, you basically just summed up the entire point of this whole show. So I think we'll just cut it off there. I think we're doing good. So Kat Harris-White, thank you so much from SassyBlack.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on The Future of What.
Could you be my new boo? I sense potential within you. Could you be my new boo? From the way that you walk to the way that you grow, I'm feeling you, and you're super smooth. Hey, I'm new around here. I've reached an age that's unclear, and when you see me, you think such a pretty young thing. BYT, but I'm grown and sexy with it, and I'm too legit to quit. If you're feeling me too, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? It's time to make that move. Could you be my new boo? I sense potential within you. Could you be my new boo? From the way that you walk to the way that you
That was New Boo by SassyBlack. If you're enjoying this program, please subscribe to our show on iTunes and leave us a comment. It really helps. To find out what's coming up next, follow us on Twitter at KRSFOW. You're listening to The Future of What? We're talking to Thunderpussy. Ladies, welcome to The Future of What?
Thank you for having us.
We are at Treefort 2017 in Boise, Idaho, and it's raining and outside, but we are having fun.
We never left Seattle or Portland.
It's
it
like
seems.
we never. I know. And
Jesus.
look at this guy. He got on the plane today with that sweatshirt, and I was like, "Did you look at the weather? Like, what were
You don't have a
thinking?"
jacket?
No, you did not bring a jacket.
He's got his standard issue black hoodie. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
fully. But I was like, dude, I looked at the weather and I was like, oh, it's just like here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind. I was gonna do something special, but
it was so nice yesterday, but
I was
today-
gonna do something special,
well,
but
I was gonna like wear a blouse or something, right?
Yeah,
But now I'm
yeah.
like, forget it. I got the flannel.
I love the word
I'm-
blouse.
Yes, blouse is a good one. Okay, so tell me, when did you guys start? When did you guys get together?
3 years ago.
3 years
It was
ago.
like 3 years ago?
yeah, we've been banned fully for.
3.5-ish, yeah.
Had you guys been in other bands before?
Yes. I don't even know how to play an instrument before this band.
She only knows how to play jaw harp. Actually, she doesn't even play the guitar. It's
Wow.
not a real thing.
That's actually how we met. We played in different bands in Seattle, and a band that I played in and Whitney played in played together. So we met, and then Seattle's a small music scene.
So it was actually through the scene. It was
Definitely.
like a legit scene kind of situation. That's how how people do
Yeah,
things.
let's put quotes on the scene.
Well, that's how they found me.
Yeah. Stalked her.
Oh, that's totally how we met.
Yeah. Well, Whitney and I met through funny circumstances.
But I saw you play in another band, and that's when I was like,
Oh yeah, I
okay,
guess it
we
was.
should
It was this
definitely be in
don't
a
fall
band
off.
together.
That's right. I forgot for a moment.
Can we
It's
curse
real.
on the podcast?
Yes,
Get
you
that out
can
of the way,
curse it
right?
up.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Curse up
There's
is
gonna be
podcast.
some bombs, right?
That's the great part about podcasts.
And so you said that FCC can't say pussy.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that, ladies. We'll get to that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so anyway, so you got together a few years ago, and you've been going along. Now, this podcast, as you may or may not be aware, is actually about the music business. And so we're very interested in helping people understand the business aspect of this. And one thing that's interesting about you guys is that you actually are not signed to a label. So you are doing this on your own.
Yep.
How's it going?
So far, pretty crazy.
It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot
Yeah.
of work. It'd be cool if we had, 15 more people on this team, but
Yeah, but I think that we're really good at persistence, which is something that you need in terms of longevity in anything, in a relationship, a
Absolutely.
career, and
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And we've been really fortunate to, along this crazy ride, grab, people here and there who are as excited as we are about the vision that we hold, and they're a part of it, So we basically we've built this really awesome, bizarre,
Weird family.
loony family, yeah. And
I mean, there's times when I'm like, I just might cry because I'm so stressed out and
Yeah,
there's
I
so
know.
much to do. And
did you email that part? Did you this
the-
list? Check that one
the
off.
pressure,
Didn't- no.
really, just the pressure of like, are we doing all that we can do, and thinking about the way that it's growing and the trajectory, and they're just like, oh God, it doesn't get easier. I think a lot of people think, once you get like famous and you get signed, it's like it's gonna get easier because you're gonna be a millionaire and you're gonna have all these people helping you. But no, it's just gonna
What's that?
get
We don't know what that's like.
harder.
Maybe that is
Yeah.
a thing. Who knows?
Yeah, that's
We're
true.
not there yet.
Oh no! But
No, yeah.
that's definitely how people think. That's how I used to think when I was a kid. When I was
Sure.
like 10 years old, and I was like watching the Judds and like listening to country music. I was like, they just everything's so easy for them. I bet it's so cool to be like a successful musician or whatever. But I don't think that's true. I think farther you go down the rabbit hole, it just gets harder and harder, and the pressure gets more and more. So like, get ready for that. Like, woo!
Well, exactly.
Newsflash.
And I'm really glad you articulated that well, because that's exactly how it is. It's like I managed a band called The Gossip. And
Oh,
they-
yeah.
Love that band. For listening
They're a
to
good
that.
band, excellent band. And we ended up going gold in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to tell you, I can attest to you, it got harder.
Yeah.
The more famous you get, it got harder because all of a sudden you're getting up in the morning to do drive time radio at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And then you're doing photo shoots and makeup and hair.
Yeah.
And then you like maybe get time for a sandwich. And then there's the drive to the next venue, and then an hour of press at the venue and sound check. And I mean, it's like, it's exponentially harder the bigger you get. And so this is like a job that is not for the faint of heart.
Yes.
Definitely not.
Have you guys found that to be the case?
No, it's
Well, and I honestly believe like things do get harder, but they also, as they grow and they evolve, but I do think that more people kind of join your team if you allow them, which then it comes down to like roles, delegating roles to other people. So all of a sudden, like, Leah's not doing the social media anymore. Like, I'm not doing the accounting or the
But there'll always
booking
be
or
some other thing,
emailing, booking. Yeah, it's like,
if you take
okay,
off one
these.
hat, you'll pick up 3 more hats. I feel like.
Yeah.
But I have to say that it seems like as they get harder, they get more rewarding.
Totally.
When you're able to
Different
pull it
kinds of
off.
payoff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
But-
And that's the thing. I mean, it's like any job, right? The higher you go up the management chain or whatever, it gets harder, but you get more rewarding because...
But also, like, the more likely you are to have a nervous breakdown at any moment, I think.
Well, that's probably true. I think that's
there's
fair.
that.
There are
So-
like moments of silence. You're like, oh yeah, I can hear myself think. This is a beautiful moment.
I feel like we have done a pretty good job of faking it, though, which has kind of been the goal. And we've actually had this experience in the last few months of people being like, oh, wait, I didn't approach you because I thought you guys already had management and a booking agent and a label. And we're
The
like,
publicist. Or
no,
you're like,
we're just doing it ourselves. like,
So have you guys gotten a manager or a publicist or a booking agent or any of that stuff? You're doing it all yourself?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, I'm super impressed with that.
We have actually taken on. He's become like our band
dad,
manager.
manager.
He's
Ish.
an incredible human, and that was like these funny steps that he kind of just like morphed into the Thunderpussy world.
No, our
and
personal
this
manager.
beautiful, he has been so helpful the last year, I think.
John Moore.
Yeah, he's been a godsend or goddess send, whatever send, but he has been like a great fifth member in terms of
Well, I gotta say though,
Push.
it's kind of a cool thing because I'm a gardener, I've been a gardener in Seattle for 5 years. And I've kind of been, I phase out, you know, I've got a great boss that lets me kind of just flexible, you know, I come in and we do some stuff, or maybe we don't, or we just hang out, we get pizza, I don't know. But like,
Yeah, I'll get done teaching and I'm like walking down the road and I see them in the car and they're pulling over to Pagliacci's and they're like, oh, we're just getting a beer and pizza. I'm like, oh, I'll join you. Like,
yeah, my boss, Elise Luck, is like the biggest Thunderpussy fan. She actually went and got a Thunderpussy tattoo a couple weeks ago. She's so rad. But
we all have.
One of her clients she's had in her business for like 13 years. Essentially, it's Cheryl Hubble, and Cheryl's husband runs this thing called Play Network, and Play Network is a cool thing. And they're based in the Seattle area, and John Willer works for Play Network, and Cheryl Hubble, you know, was like, what? Elise one day was like, oh, you know, Cheryl, she loves music, so I'm going to tell her all about Thunderpussy. And we're just gardening, you know, we're just like weeding some shit. And Elise goes and like finds Cheryl, and she's like, you need to know about Whitney's band, Thunderpussy. They're the coolest band ever. And so she comes to a show, and then she's immediately like, I'm going to introduce you to John Willer. He works at my husband's company. You just need to know him. And the next thing you know, John is our manager. Like, it just boom, 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 like from my gardening job. And like, that's the way that things will spiral with this band. I mean, it's just organic like that. And it's just so cool. The team just sort of comes from these interesting little facets.
Organic's a good way to put it. I feel like we wait things out and we push. Like, we push and we wait, and we push and we wait, but we're never like, we might seem like we're in your face performance-wise, but I feel like we're really, we're patient in a lot of ways, but we definitely have a vision that we're like, okay, do not with this. Either you're jumping on the boat or you're not.
You never know
we do kind of settle in the water
someone's
sometimes.
just gonna like fall in your lap, you know.
And that's a really good way to put it, because I think that there's an element, you know, if you're, let's say, talking to young musicians, you don't want to be desperate. Like, this isn't about desperation, right? It's about knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And so that's what you guys are basically saying. It's like, you know who you are, and this is who you are, and you're going to be true to who you are. And if you want to get on the team, that's awesome.
And that's also a good, I mean, that just made me think of like when we've been talking to labels and things like that. And it's so interesting having those kinds of conversations where it's not about like a hit. We're not doing this to make like a top hit on the radio, like radio hit. We're like longevity. Like we want this to be a career. We're not interested in being like, throw it on the radio and make millions and then sayonara, because
we have a long-term goal.
That's also not our personality.
We're going to tour and take over the world, and then our retirement plan is a Vegas residency.
So you want to be Celine Dion. I hear you.
Hello.
Or Britney, one of the two.
Britney. That works.
Isn't
Exactly.
J-Lo taking over Britney's spot?
Oh, maybe.
I want to be Fat Elvis. Personally, that's what I'm shooting
You know
for.
what? I would definitely enjoy seeing you as a Fat Elvis.
I would be Siegfried or Roy, whichever one didn't get attacked by the tiger.
I love all the tigers.
So let me ask you a question. Have you guys, are you members of Sound Exchange? Did you sign up for Sound Exchange?
We have not, or I haven't
I'm
personally.
pretty sure John's doing that right now, actually. I was just talking to him about it 2 days ago. Because we're about to put out our first
We've never released
thing.
any music. That's the
Oh,
thing.
you haven't released? I thought you had like EPs and stuff.
We've put free demos online, and that's it. So we don't have anything to like make money off of.
But we just are about to release our first 7-inch. We got an A-side, B-side that we recorded in Seattle with our buddy Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Sure.
Awesome
he's
human
been
being.
an incredible
Help
support.
reached out his wing and kind of like took us in, and has just been incredible.
I interviewed him on this podcast, and he's a lovely guy.
Yeah, he's a gem. He
Lovely guy.
really is. But yeah, we recorded with him. Well, actually, we recorded our first album with Sylvia Massey in November, and she's
I did a profile on Sylvia Massey.
She's incredible.
She's amazing.
she
Mama Magic.
is amazing.
cool.
Mama Magic,
Mama Magic.
absolutely.
So amazing.
Oh, Sylvia Massey is an alien from another planet, and I'm so happy she landed on this one.
I just
finally.
want to say on the record, she's really pretty and she smells really good.
We
Wait,
basically
did you say that one?
Yeah, we did say that one.
It smells real good.
we took a month and went down to her studio in Ashland, Oregon. We rented a house a couple blocks away from the studio, and the studio's in a church. It's awesome.
great.
And we recorded a full length, and it's in the final stages of the mixing process.
The mix.
Yeah.
But then after that, we recorded in December. So that
Yes.
happened in October. And then December, we recorded with Mike. And we were supposed to record like 2 songs, and we recorded, I think, like 4. Like just kept going. Then our 7 inch is coming out in May. So it'll be the 2 songs. And then our album finally does come out. So Sound Exchange is the next step into,
Certainly.
making sure
Great.
everything
Good.
is
Good.
in place.
Because that's important. Yeah, you got to collect
The
all
next
that money.
thing, I know.
So are you going to release the album just on Bandcamp?
No.
No.
I mean, we've I know John's putting it up on TuneCore to do like a digital distribution, and we're playing a couple shows with Mike McCready's tribute band, which is called Flight to Mars. And they do an annual, it's actually 2 nights now because it's grown, and it's in Seattle at the Showbox at the Market, and it's to benefit Crohn's Foundation. You know, Mike has Crohn's disease, and
probably
he
told
cares
you
a
about
lot about
that.
that.
That's what we talked
Yes.
about. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're opening 2 nights and at the Showbox, May 12th and 13th, and we'll be releasing the physical copies there. And talking to the cats in Boise, we're gonna get some records in there in the record exchange, and
I hope,
we'll be doing some physical stuff online and whatnot. But
And for the full length, it'll definitely be on vinyl. Just haven't gotten much further than that.
Those are definitely steps. These are all conversations that we are literally having right now of, do we self-release our album? We're talking with different people right now and kind of what fits with us, because
the main
we are-
topic is
yeah.
distribution, you
Yeah.
know. How do you get the best distribution? How do you get that team in place? So we're not around.
Good.
We're gonna make sure it's all lined up.
Well, that sort of touches on all the biz parts that you guys are.
Can we stop
working
doing
on.
business and just party? God.
Yes, it's 7 o'clock. Time to drink.
Didn't you guys bring the beers?
We've already played 2
No.
shows today.
Oh my God, Portia, put your pants back on. Oh my God, Portia, please. I don't want to see that right now. Oh my God.
All right, well,
Whitney's break.
Oh my
ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
I want you. I want you. I want you.
That was Welcome to the Disco by Thunderpussy. Support for the future of what comes from Merch Table. Kill Rock Stars has partnered with Merch Table for almost 6 years now, and they've come through for us in a lot of ways. Like when the comedian Kurt Braunohler wanted a face towel with his face on it, Merch Table found a way to make this, and it's been one of our most popular items in our mail order store. KRS loves Merch Table. You're listening to The Future of What? We're talking to Luz Elena Mendoza of La Bamba.
Luz Elena Mendoza from La Bamba. Welcome to The Future of What?
Thank you.
I'm so glad to talk to you. Weirdly outside of Portland.
Yeah, totally. But it still feels like Portland. I was actually thinking to myself, I saw this house show today. I saw Clark and the Himselves, right? Clark and the Himselves. And I've been here since Monday rehearsing because I just came from South by straight here.
Okay.
And I've been seeing just like the kind of like the people kind of gather and just come here. But it gave me this feeling going to this house show earlier today. I walked in, there's like the wood floors, you know, like the houses with like the basements and like the kind of, like, it's not like that well kept, but kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Girl playing guitar on the floor, stuff everywhere. And it just reminded me of Portland like 10 years ago. I really, really did. I was like, oh, like there's such like strong magic here. And that's why Treefort exists. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been feeling that really hard. So it kind of feels like we're in Portland. That's what I was saying.
Isn't that funny? I feel like that's so true. I feel like what has happened is we have started to develop scenes in other parts of the country. You know, it's like for a while there, Portland was like such a hot scene and everybody who wanted to be a musician moved to Portland.
Like a natural response to like, oh yeah, this is cool. The same thing that's happening here, but you
now
don't
it's
really
happening
think about
here.
it.
Yeah.
You just like kind of you're just doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's really natural. It feels really natural in a place like Boise.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty cool.
I'm like, and then just feeling, because I've been living in Portland for the last 10 years, so I feel like, wow, just like we're like in a different, it's just different generation, but the feeling, the sentiment is still strong.
Right, absolutely. So let's talk about how you first started. Like, how did you get into music in the first place?
Music is like a teacher, it's a tool, right? It's just an extension of how we feel inside, and some of us who are exposed to it, like celebrate it. It's my natural response to how I relate to the world. It's like a relationship. So I feel the way that I can kind of like just compartmentalize all those thoughts and what I think happened is that I feel that is like my ancestry, you know, it's how I grew up listening to music, seeing how my dad expressed himself, my parents, my culture. Everything was sound. Everything was a celebration. And so, again, same thing how we're talking about you don't really think about that stuff. You just are like, you're just part of that body, you know, You are that body. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like when you're young or even like before you're even conceived, you know, you already have this, like, you're just going to express yourself the way that it's already you inherit this knowledge, you know, and then of course your immediate environment influences you for sure. I didn't grow up listening to Bob Dylan or the Beatles or anything that you guys, I'm sure, not to assume, but that you guys were exposed to, you know, like I grew up listening to a lot of Mexican music, a lot of old corridos music, not even just the Mexican music that when I go to Mexico City. And it's so different, like from where my parents are from. My parents are from Michoacan, Mexico, and like they listen to the traditional old school corridos, like not even like pop. I mean, I might have known where the Beatles were because they were that famous. And even like the hit globally, Michael Jackson, like all the big names. Even my dad's like, oh, Michael Jackson, you know, like it would like still be, you know, even though we didn't grow up listening to it, that's my only relationship with that sort of music. But I feel like music for me is just another way that how we pray. And so I think that it was exposed since a child, you know, and then singing, like just seeing a lot of mariachi, a lot of just the songs, what the songs are about, I related with because there's such strong, vulnerable, real feelings of like what was happening. And that's, again, you can't really learn that. You're just kind of experiencing that with the family and hearing it. So it's normal. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I'm in America and then I'm like being myself and just expressing myself. And so I think that because I think that's why I am here in front of you, you know, talking to you about music, you know, and like how I relate with the world and vice versa. So
how did you feel picking up a guitar? You know, I mean, how did that feel? Because then you lived in America. Did you have other people, friends who were doing that as well?
No,
or was it really you?
Yeah, I grew up in a very strict Catholic upbringing. So music was always around all the time. It was always music, food, the religion, the food, the music, the how, everything. And it's just, again, another way that how we communicate. And I had a really hard time growing up being a girl and not having the same, how do I even say this? Like, I didn't have the same treatment as the guys did. And so, like, me trying to, the reason why I have to answer these questions in this way, because there's so many layers. I didn't really touch a guitar. It intimidated my parents how big or how excited and how inspired I was about life. And obviously music is an extension of how I'm going to express. So I didn't get my guitar until I was like 18, and it wasn't because my parents got it for me. And it was because of the Americans, the white folk, you know, that they really opened up and exposed this other part, which was already in me for so long. But because there's so many layers, like I was a girl, I didn't really have a lot of the privileges, you know, that for me to excel and achieve, to find that compatibility with instruments or whatever. Like I just was so, even playing basketball, I had to like sneak out of the house to play basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like this thing. So like the guitar, once the guitar was placed on my lap, there was, can you imagine? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're just like, whoa, awesome. Like I never was told that I can actually do this, and you're actually learning how to do it. And it was through my peers. Mm-hmm. And of course, I just had no idea. One thing led to another. And I'm just like teaching myself just like a few little, you know, there was like those, I don't know if you ever seen the up, up, down, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, like a way to strum your guitar, down, down, mm-hmm. up, down, up. My friend drew that out, and that stuck with me forever. And that's how I started to learn rhythm. And then I just kind of pretended that I knew how to play and still do, you know? Yeah. And so I'm just like, yeah, so it was like the most, I'm so grateful for that. So yeah, it was like a really huge experience. I still go through that when I have a guitar in my lap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I feel like the more musicians I talk to, the more they talk about this love affair that they have mm-hmm. with their instrument that just lasts for a lifetime. You know, it just goes on and on and on. You know, it's always exciting. They sit down with the guitar and it's always exciting, or the piano or whatever it is.
Either if it's a physical instrument or not, like the way it's a vulnerability. We're allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to another tool for us to kind of reach that level of expression. Mm-hmm. And if it's a guitar or a pencil or a book or a paintbrush or how we talk to one another, it's a bridge. The guitar is my bridge to get to the other side. Right. And so, of course, that's hella intimate. There's an intimacy there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can't forget it. You know, even like, my hands, we're not our bodies. Our hands won't last forever, you know, but we'll always have that festive part of like how we express, you know.
Right. And your songs live on.
Yeah. And I mean,
that's
they're just
true.
There.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, we just put out the 20th anniversary edition of the Elliott Smith Either Or album. Mm-hmm. That's a perfect example of, you know, songs live on mm-hmm. and they still matter to people. Mm-hmm. You know, they still have an impact, which is always really inspiring to think about.
I'm excited about that, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are too. It's been great. We've been really happy. So you are an interesting person to talk to because a lot of times I talk to people who are sort of starting out a little bit more in the music mm-hmm. business, but you've been doing this for a while now, and you put out 4 albums, mm-hmm. and you have a booking agent, you have management, mm-hmm. you have a record label, you have a team. Mm-hmm. How does that feel? How's that, you know, is that a good thing? Did you have to do a lot of the business stuff beforehand by yourself?
The business side and the bureaucracy behind the musical, like, the business, like the music industry, it has been something that's been so difficult for me to wrap my mind around. I've been so disattached from it. I don't really understand. It's never been something that has been driven me or for me. Other people have helped me hard, you know. Hasn't been my strength. So you can only imagine how present, you know, like I can be with that because I'm like creating, or, you know, I'm like more on this other side. But it's helped me, the people that are on my side and the people that continue to be helping me pave this in and out, you know, that has encouraged me to keep going. It's like a natural thing. It's what's hard with the work that's hard with all of this is the personal growth and the personal work, like what's going on inside of me. Mm-hmm. That's what's hard. because I'm trying to wrap my mind around the business. I'm also trying to wrap my mind around interpersonal relationships. I'm also trying to wrap my mind around why we actually do what we do, you know, as artists and as vulnerable people. You know, that's what I think about. And then there's like this crazy monster called the music like industry.
Yeah.
And that is something that I just don't know. I know, and people talk to me and ask me and like, oh, hey, let's talk about it. And I'm like, well, let me just tell you what I know. And yeah, there are things that I've learned to take more initiative in, but I also am in a different realm of trying to organize. I do need to organize, but I'm, again, like people, if my homies weren't there, if Tender Loving Empire wasn't there, or anybody else that has kind of like helped me pave that way, like it's like a relationship. They know me intimately, and I've never known any other label. I've never known any other book. I just don't know. I just go where the heart is at. You know?
Yeah.
I hope that really, for not just for myself, but other artists who also struggle in the same area, you know, like really find some sort of grounding or healing in that area, because it is hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. But because then I can't just go and have rehearsals and like be like, okay, it's so hard to compartmentalize all of that. And then I really want to make sure that everyone's feeling good. And like, there's so many layers to all of that. It's not just a music business and like the things you have to keep tabs on all the time. You know, that's hard.
Yeah.
But it's more of like keeping tabs on like, you know, like or not that you're keeping tabs, but making sure you're checking in with people with a heart.
Right.
That's what's more important to me. And so, of course, I get lost in this other, you know, like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to, you know, stay on top of that. But what I'm really trying to tend that garden of like, who's that team? And so it's still a mystery to me, you know, like I am where I'm at now because of the love and the people. And it's hard. It's so hard. You know, I'm very hard on myself, but I'm somehow still doing what I'm doing because that's not you can't not do it, you know? Yeah, it's really surreal. It's really surreal. There's like, at the same time, there's like no time to like beat yourself up for not really understanding every single moving, evolving detail that is happening with every single thing. There's so many things, and I'm sure you guys have a different side of the story of what it looks like on your end, the evolution of what the music industry. I'm smart enough to, I might not know every little thing, but I can feel the energy. I understand. You can look outside and turn on the TV or on your computer and you can feel that energy evolve. So it all applies in everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think that's an important point because a lot of times, I mean, this podcast is about the music business, right? And we try, like, one of the things we try to do is help young bands and young artists getting started to kind of understand what they're getting involved in. And I think that sometimes with a band, it's easier because sometimes in a band of 4 or 5 people, there's one person who's really business minded, and that can be really helpful. You know, that person can just take care of all the details. Yeah. But a lot of times people are like you, like, you know, true artists, where it's like your job is to make art and that's it. You're not going to sit around figuring out the finances. You're not going to, I mean, you may have had to do that at one point, but it's really hard.
There's been some beautiful people who have been like that strong asset like that. And I'm like, cool. But it still sucks though. You feel guilty because you're like, I can't. Because like at your worst moments, you're like, why aren't you doing that? And you're like, I can't, you know, you know what I mean? And then you like challenge yourself, whoever you are. It depends on person to person how you're going to process that, you know? But yeah, I'm thankful for the people that know how to pick up that information and really just deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that most important for anyone that's starting out, you know, first of all, you don't even think about that you're starting out. You're just doing your thing.
Right.
It's not like, I'm starting out. There's something that you need to look at that dialogue if that's how you're thinking about putting your music out there. Right. You just are who you are. You know, of course, there's other little details that are like, okay, well, we need to make money. I've never thought that, you know? But there's certain things that you're pressed against that now you have to kind of deal with that, you know? But the heart is just be heart strong, and things will kind of figure themselves out, I guess. I don't know. They kind of have already.
I think the one thing I would say is, I think you're totally right, but I think the one thing I would say is that at some point, like especially when you're starting out, whatever that means, whether you're, you know, doing it consciously or you're just doing your thing, you have to understand at least the rudiments of the business so you don't get screwed over. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So that someone's not taking advantage of you. That's the one thing where it's like, you don't have to be doing the accounting, but you have to know like that there is accounting being done.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's really important for artists. It's just, this is your job. This is your life. You know, if this is how you're living and eating and paying your rent, you know, you want to make sure that someone's not, that you trust people. I mean, that's what you're saying about maintaining those relationships.
Yeah, totally. That's something I wish for me, check it. Like for me 10 years ago, like I said, I had no idea. Somebody else was watching my back, but they didn't realize how much I didn't know or what I did know. You can't really tell. I didn't know. You know what I mean? I'm now be like, oh, okay, now at 35 and just play music because, you know, like I'm like, holy crap. Like I wish I would have known this and that. I wish I was more capable of understanding that, but I wasn't, you know? And now there's still things that I'm like, like I need to do this and I need to do that. And it's scary for sure, you know? But yes, it is important to know that in order for you to continue. Yeah, but once you're there and you kind of learn from like the lack of knowledge about things when you first start and all your stuff is out there, right? You know, and you're like, oh, okay, royalties, this, that, oh, you know, like it is like another side of you playing music professionally.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like you play music because you're like healing. And that's like why I do what I do. Right. You know, I never really sought out to be a professional musician. But I'm definitely like, you know, set up. Like you said, I have a manager, I have like a booking agent. And they know all that stuff about me. And we're like trying to work it out, you know. So, yeah it's kind of like it's a rude awakening. It's happening.
Yes, I completely understand. Well, Luz Elena, thank you so much for being with us today on The Future of What.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Last night while I was dreaming, I thought I fell asleep. But what was a dream? What was a dream? Were my traveling eyes? I heard a screaming coming straight out of the evening, where all the animals came together to have the talk. They spoke to higher places to protect of what they claimed to stalk.
That was Libre by Bamba. You're listening to The Future of What? If you're enjoying this program, like us on Facebook and become a subscriber on iTunes. The Future of What is supported by Sound Exchange. I want to take a minute to tell you about another new podcast to the Jabberjaw Network, Poor Taste. Through years of consultation work with hotels, restaurants, and bars, John and Lindsay Yeager are now bringing their cocktail and spirit prowess to the Poor Taste podcast. Each week, John discusses spirit and cocktail history while guiding guests through recipes. The podcast also features award-winning authors, spirit importers, and tastemakers to discuss trends and other tidbits from today's cocktail community. And that's our show. The music we played today was used by permission. You heard SassyBlack, Thunderpussy, Bamba, and of course our theme song, Mind Your Own Business by the Delta 5. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and leave us a review. For more info on our shows, check out our website at killrockstars.com/thefutureofwhat. Our program was engineered by Brent Asbury at Beta Petrol and is produced by Will Watts and Anna McLean. I'm Portia Sabin, president of Kill Rock Stars. See you next week.
Can I have a taste of your ice cream? Can I lick the crumbs from your table? Can I interfere in your crisis? No, mind your own business. No, mind your own.
This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network.